Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that. But don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new week of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 235. Our job on a weekly basis is to give you guys some really interesting movies to watch for the given weekend. Hopefully some cinematic gems in your feed, in your box, however you collect and watch movies. I think we have a couple of really interesting movies this week. I'm joined by Bruce Purkey and Eric Holmes. Eric Holmes, gems. More gems this week. The reason why I asked the same question the last couple of weeks is there will be a week when we will have nothing to offer the listener except saying, beware, do not watch these movies and just stay away from the theaters. But do we have gems this week from your POV, Eric?
Yes. We got a really good documentary, a really strange movie about dogs. I didn't see the other two, and a remake.
Okay, Okay, what about you, Bruce? How's your week been, and are you excited to share some gems for our CinemAddicts crew?
Yeah, for sure. I think I saw some really good ones this week. Saw 2 TV series too, but I won't talk about them today, probably.
Okay.
I might mention them briefly.
What two TV series? You're going to talk about them right now. You have 10 seconds.
I finished The Gentleman. I think it's really solid. If you like Guy Ritchie, I think give it a try. I think it's closer to his Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch kind of style. Lots of crime and twisty and funny.
It's so easy bingeable watch.
Easy. Yeah. And it leaves it open for another season, but it also has it's satisfying in its own right. If you don't ever go back to it, you'd have a good meal. And I'm not quite finished, but I am watching right now 3 Body Problem, which has just popped out in the last 3 or 4 days on Netflix. I'm 5 episodes in, and the 5th episode called what's it called? Judgment Day, I think, is one of the more amazing episodes of sci-fi TV that I've ever seen. So far, it's really solid, somewhat mind-bendy, but also really entertaining. So I'm surprised that it's as entertaining as it was. I thought it would get too into its own head, and I think it's kind of balancing and walking the line pretty good. And it's not afraid to go gross if it needs to go gross. There is some violence in there as well.
Oh, so there have been mixed reviews with 3 Body Problem. Maybe next week you'll have seen all of the episodes and you can give us sort of a mini review whether to even maybe it might just be that one episode that's one of the best, like episode 5, and it might tail off. So
it could easily go off the rails. It could, but I'm actually having a great time with it. So.
Okay. Speaking of going off the rails, we just finished our CinemAddicts Patreon episode, and I meant off the rails because me, Bruce Purkey, and Eric Holmes and Bruce Purkey were sort of in tandem in agreement with one of our films. We covered the year 2007, and we covered the films Elite Squad and Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. We had some varying opinions on Elite Squad and some just massive love for director Sidney Lumet on his last film, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. We talk about both movies, we review them, we talk about spoilers, box office birthdays. That's a bonus episode exclusively for a CinemAddicts Patreon member for a $5 catch-all fee. Please support us, and thank you, CinemAddicts Patreon members, for supporting us on Patreon. And Ryan Smith, thank you for your Patreon pick for Elite Squad. And for next month, which is April, Bruce Purkey, it's Bruce Purkey's turn. He will pick a movie from the year. Bruce, what year are you covering?
1986, and I've got it narrowed down to about 10 movies so far.
Yes, narrowed down for 10 movies. If you are a Patreon member, you get to pick the second one. You can vote on the second movie. The first pick from 1986 will be courtesy of Bruce Purkey. Second pick is a CinemAddicts Patreon pick. So I will make sure. I always get these polls and stuff. Bruce is going to do a poll for our CinemAddicts Facebook group members. I need to do a poll for our Patreon members as well. 1986, Eric Holmes, where were you? Do you remember when you think of the year 1986? What is little Eric Holmes doing? What is his headspace in 1986?
Probably running throughout the neighborhood with my brothers and the neighbor kids, playing kickball or hide and seek or wrestling or any number of things. We're outdoors a lot, which I got my fill when I was younger. I don't do that much anymore.
Oh, you're not an outdoorsy person anymore? You're not an outdoors?
Not usually.
Oh, okay. I always thought you were more of an outdoors person, but I guess because of where you live, maybe because it warrants that, or I guess I'm just stereotyping. I guess you're sort of an
No, like I'll go camping sometimes, but I'm not like, woohoo, let's go outside. Like we have the what they call the incline here. People are like, have you ever done the incline? I'm like, hell no.
Oh, okay.
No,
okay.
that involves a lot of physical activity, and I'm not here for that anymore. When I was a kid, I would be all over that, but not so much.
Bruce, I mean, on your Facebook feed, you always have all these nature hikes that you go with your sons and your dog, So you could consider yourself an outdoorsy person?
I mean, we do a movie podcast. What do you think? We're mostly inside.
Okay.
Just do the math. How many movies I watch a year? Add that up by 90 minutes or 2 hours per piece, and yeah, he doesn't go out very much.
Bruce, don't give me that lip. If you give me that attitude, okay.
I'm your elder. Listen to your elders.
That kind of attitude. I wish I had maybe 5 or 6 dogs around me, and I can just show them a picture of Bruce Purkey and have them go all the way to your domicile, cross country, and possibly attack you, because that sounds like a cockamamie thing to say. But what happens when that thing or that intent becomes a movie? That movie is one of our first featured for this week. It's called Dogman. Dogman, it's directed and written by Luc Besson. Luc Besson, Eric Holmes, are you a fan of Luc Besson?
Yeah, I think so. You think he got in some trouble? Well, like I think like off camera he got in trouble for some stuff. I don't know what that is.
Okay.
But like just his movies in general,
as an artist, yeah.
What was the last one of his I saw? I think it was Valerian. Valerian was really good. In fact, I still need to. No, I didn't see Lucy, but I need to track down the script for Valerian, because there's that scene where they're in the desert, but it's like a wide open kind of bazaar. But then they go into it and they're like, it's kind of stuck between two dimensions. Like when you're watching it, it makes sense. But as I'm watching it, I'm just wondering, what the hell does this look like on the page? Because, it works as a scene, but I can't imagine how you would write that. But yeah, as an artist, I dig him. I don't know what his personal stuff is. I heard bad things, but that's neither here nor there.
That's neither here nor there. We're judging the artist, not the man. And I say that because I'm a horrible human being who likes to separate. I'm not as empathetic and as loving and as human as Eric Holmes. I'm all about the cinema. Please don't cancel me, folks. Please don't cancel me. Caleb Landry Jones, he's a lead in Dogman. He plays this guy named Douglas Morrow. Douglas Morrow is handicapped. He is lost mainly the use of both of his legs. That's just one of the plot elements. The movie starts with him in jail being questioned by, I think it's a psychiatrist, therapist, played by JoJo T. Gibbs. She plays this woman named Evelyn. A lot of the movie has Evelyn questioning Douglas Morrow in his jail cell as he recounts his life. Most of the movie is a flashback to the life of Douglas Morrow. Who is Douglas Morrow? Douglas Morrow is exactly the name of the movie title. He is Dogman. Why is he Dogman? I'm going to let Eric and Bruce maybe fill in the gaps. Right now, I don't know what's spoilerific or anything. All we know is he was raised not in a good home. He was forced to live with dogs and cohabitate with a lot of dogs. And dogs became Douglas Morrow's family for pretty much all his life. And he specifically, understandably so, appreciates and loves dogs more than human beings. And that manifests itself into his own personal life as he ends up inadvertently becoming a very influential person in the area he lives in. And he becomes a very powerful person thanks to the dogs that surround him. It's a Luc Besson movie, meaning there's a lot of operatic sequences. You're not going to get the wall-to-wall action scenes that you're going to get from something like Lucy or Leon, aka The Professional. You're not going to get that, but there are action scenes in Dogman. Ultimately, this is a story of a man who's been harmed by society and how he actually overcomes that with a strong bond with dogs. And I'm trying to make it sound normal because this movie is completely wackadoodle. Our friend William Lindis, fellow podcaster at the Movie Bears podcast, he was saying how much he appreciated the movie, but he doesn't know if it completely worked as a film. I feel it completely works as a film because, though I understand what William Lindis is saying, Caleb Landry Jones as Douglas Morrow, we all love Caleb Landry Jones. Eric and Bruce have reviewed Nitram a couple of years ago. He is a talent and he is absolutely fantastic. And I love this movie so much. I'm unabashedly in love with this movie. That said, I see its flaws. Start off with Eric Holmes. Am I rose-colored glasses with Dogman? Did the movie work for you as much as it did for me, or do you see it with more of an even eye with some of its flaws?
Yeah, I think this is pretty good overall. A couple things, I mentioned the stuff with the Valerian. This I'm not so confused on what it looks like on the page, but the filmmaking with as many dogs as were in this, the undertaking of that's got to be insane. I actually watched this with my dog because normally he just doesn't care about movies. He'll just kind of curl up in a ball and go to sleep, and he just kind of looks at me like, "You watch your movie, stupid human. I'm gonna sit here and sleep." But and he was curled up in a ball sleeping until like the dog started whining, and then Shorzy got he perked up and he just started like, he got to the edge of the bed and he was like looking at the screen going, what is it? When I'm hearing noises, what's happening? So my dog was definitely riveted throughout most of this. I can't help but think that there's a disabled trans actor or disabled drag actor watching this. Kind of disappointed that they didn't get the main part that Caleb Landry Jones played. It's like, there was one part I could have played. This is it, and I didn't get it. What the hell? But as far as the story goes, what is the story? So I guess one thing I thought was kind of odd about it is the framing of how Caleb Landry Jones tells a story. And did I get this? He's in jail, or
he's in jail because of what he did towards the third act. So
that just seems like a really weird place to be bearing your soul to a. I assume that was a cop who's
police psychologist.
Yeah, police psychologist.
Yeah. So that whole setup was kind of confusing to me. I didn't quite understand like how that would work in real life. But I did like the, his backstory, when they started going to his backstory and up to present day, and how he slowly kind of collects his army of dogs, and how it almost feels like a villain origin story or a superhero origin story. Yeah, it was definitely a fun movie. Kind of, I hesitate to use the word quirky because you think Wes Anderson, and this is not that at all, but like a darkly kind of quirky sort of thing. It's just, but I don't want to call it weird either, because weird kind of makes you think like, hundreds of beavers or something like that. And it's not quite that either. It's like, I don't know. I guess maybe a strange thriller of sorts. It's I definitely enjoyed it. Shorzy was, at the edge of his seat, worried about the dogs. But yeah, there's a lot of great filmmaking in this, especially with the dog training that must have went on behind the scenes. I have no idea. And yeah, it's good stuff.
Eric, I love this movie as well. I'm glad you said it was pretty good. Bruce, pretty good movie for you as well. Marlene Dietrich, Edith Piaf. If you're a fan, should fans of Edith Piaf and Marlene Dietrich watch this movie?
At least fans of Edith Piaf and Marlene Dietrich drag would probably enjoy watching this movie. So I think Eric was right on. My thoughts were exactly the same as far as origin story. I think if you think of that recent The Batman we just watched, and you say it starts in Arkham Asylum, and you're going to meet one of the Z grade villains, not the Joker, not the Penguin. This is Dogman. He's like way off on wing Z of Arkham. You're talking to him, and you're going to find out his origin story, and that's what you're watching here. Now, I think the downside of this, I think I kind of agree with William Lindis to some degree, is that the actual arc of the narrative kind of doesn't go anywhere, but the act of getting there and finding out how he got to where we are when we see him at the beginning is entertaining enough in its own right, I think, and odd enough in its own right. There's enough oddness in there. And I think, like you said, Caleb Landry Jones is absolutely committed and really does some interesting stuff here. The whole time through, I was trying to say, what is he reminding me of? What? There's something about the way he's talking and acting. And at some point, it struck me, he's somewhere in the John Travolta realm. There's something going on there. He's a little John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. He's a little John Travolta. There's something a little John Travolta there. But if John Travolta could act really well. And
How dare
this
you?
movie, I know. This movie also is so ridiculous and ludicrous in many points. So you either go with it or you don't. Like, for example, his opening life, the terrible opening life he has. I mean, his brother might as well be the hillbilly character from The Simpsons. Like, he is so cartoonishly ridiculous. And
Bruce,
there's several.
do we give credit though? Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
It's intentionally dark like that. I mean, it's just so ridiculous, right?
And that's why I think thinking of it almost like that supervillain origin story in a somewhat grounded universe works better, because then you kind of understand the wildness of this. But to give credit, there are moments like, there's the drag stuff, right? And at first, when he starts out, we didn't mention the very opening scene is him getting pulled over in his truck. The truck is full of dogs. He's in the front seat. He's wounded, and he's dressed as Marilyn Monroe from Diamonds, Our Girl's Best Friend, or whatever. Yeah. And you're like, okay, I'm going to have to know what all this means. And they answer it all, right? They get, how does he get to drag, and how does he get to that point? But the point I would say about the drag stuff is, at first I was like, is this going to be problematic? Is this going to be, what is this going to be? And I think it works because they're really committed to it, and it's taken with a sensitivity, like you understand why he's there. It's not taken as a joke. And when they get to those scenes where he's performing, they stay on it. They stay on the performance. They commit to it. This is something that actually matters to this character. So if you're in at that point, I think you buy it. I think you actually go with it. Sure, is it ludicrous? Yes, but you still kind of buy it. I overall really enjoyed this too.
The ending. Go ahead.
I want to hop on that initial thought of him being. Well, at first I thought he was supposed to be trans, and then so when they started going to his early backstory, I was like, oh, he became trans because he was abused. Like, this is not the story you should be telling in this day and age. But then as it went on, and you figure out, like, how it got there, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I can buy that. But yeah, early on I was like, don't go there. Don't go there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that ending of the movie is just absolutely ridiculous. And
what are the rules of that?
I mean,
the whole walking thing.
Oh yeah. That's just straight out of. I'm thinking of the Gary Oldman sequence years ago from Leon, and he's walking through that whole structure, and he's in whatever's playing that operatic music. It's so. That's not a word. It's so Bessonian. But it worked. It works for me. I was fine. It won't work for a lot of people, though. I will say there are parts of this movie, but I think this is, if you like The Fifth Element, or love The Fifth Element, or if you have been on the Besson train in a lot of his movies, especially a lot of his more eccentric film movies, this is on that level. I really enjoyed it. Eric, final thoughts and ratings on Dogman.
As we mentioned, my problems were cast away about halfway through the movie, and it was strange, fun. Watching all the scenes with how the dogs interact with them was fun. We'll say the scene where he's talking on the phone with someone, and what was that, a German Shepherd or whatever dog that was, hopped in, and then that cute little dog. Oh, if you love dogs, this is a good one. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think this is a spoiler, but maybe people would want to know this going in. I don't recall any dogs getting hurt in this. No. So if you're worried about that, don't be. If it happened. I must have missed it, but I don't recall any dogs in peril. And in fact, the dogs are kind of the star of the show, co-stars. Like, when it comes to best supporting actor, one of those dogs should at least be nominated come Oscar time, because they did a great job. But
a great job. Yeah,
I'll probably go 4 stars on this.
4 stars. I went 4 stars on Dogman as well. I just went on Letterboxd right now and changed it to 4.5. I love this movie so much. I will buy this on Blu-ray. I have to. I hope it gets on physical media, because it's just so wackadoodle. It goes so many different places, and there is a sequence. There is a section of the movie which is a musical. There are 3. I think there are 3 numbers. I think there are 2 really good numbers in Dogman that I really loved, and Caleb Landry Jones, just remarkable. Bruce,
I think I'll go 4 stars too. My only reservation really is that I like the whole thing of what's going on here. I wish it had a story for Dogman to actually do other than just become Dogman.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of my big problem is I wish it was Dogman doing a whole story or continuing to, I guess it's an origin story. So give me Dogman 2.
They should have called this
Boogaloo. No.
They should have called this one Puppy Man, and then the sequel's Dogman.
There you go.
Look, you're so disappointed, Bruce, that you
And
gave
then
this
Dogman
movie.
3, you can teach an old dog new tricks.
This is how. What's really cool, Bruce, is you're very disappointed that you had to give Dogman only 4 out of 5 stars. It's
true,
right? You
true.
still love the movie. It's 4 out of 5 for you, and four from Eric, and 4.5.
They need to do a crossover with the Air Bud movies. Have Caleb Landry Jones like teach all of his dogs, like get a team of dogs together and teach them how to play basketball.
And this is at least the second year that Caleb Landry Jones will not be nominated for an Oscar for a role that he should have been.
Oh, you mentioning Nitram. Nitram. Okay, so this is how committed Caleb is, Landry Jones is, for the press conference. This, I believe Dogman either premiered or screened at the Venezia Film Festival. And Luc Besson had to tell people, hey, by the way, when you hear Caleb answering in Scottish, he's actually in character right now. He's trying to perfect the Scottish accent. So he actually answered the questions in a Scottish accent because he was in method.
Acting works too.
What?
Try acting. What was that? The old saying is like, try acting, my dear, or whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, he was really method acting for that press conference. Okay. Really cool stuff from Dogman. I am going to, again, enough of me. Bruce and Eric, transition. Eric, you want to talk about what this documentary is about because you actually interviewed the filmmakers this week.
Yeah. So I think the fact that I knew ahead of time that I was interviewing the filmmakers was kind of a spoiler for a documentary, because had I not known that, I would have been just absolutely worried about Jordan Bryan, who the movie follows. Jordan Bryan's he's trans and trans journalist working in Afghanistan with the Taliban, or not working with the Taliban, but journalizing the Taliban, or how. So either way, they're in a theocracy as a trans person, and he has to kind of hide the fact that he's trans for fear that if he's found out, he's likely dead. And so it starts off with that, kind of goes into his life in Afghanistan, and kind of like there's a part in the documentary where he is kind of having second thoughts, like, is it even ethical for me to make the documentary? And that part broke my heart, because it's like, dude, if you go into a place being yourself, their initial thought is, if people like you come in, we're going to kill you. Of course you're going to lie about that. And the fact that he had to second guess himself about that, it was just heartbreaking. But yeah, it follows Jordan Bryan throughout his stay in Afghanistan. It's very riveting. You get to watch also throughout that, he does some medical procedures, so you get to kind of get a little insight into that. Thankfully he made it out the other side, and I was just falling in love with him throughout the whole documentary. And then talking to him in the interview was great as well. Yeah, this is a good one. Kind of like on the Patreon, we were talking about Elite Squad, like the wrong people will see Elite Squad and take the wrong lessons from it. I think there are going to be people that watch this documentary and will just hate Jordan, hate Jordan throughout this. But they're hateful people, so screw them. But yeah, this is a great documentary, and I think most people get a lot out of it.
Bruce?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. There's this documentary we talked about before. I think actually Anderson brought this up before, like, the great documentaries have a certain different things, right? They have the access is always one of the biggest things in documentaries like this, and this has access for days. You also didn't mention there's the person that he's with there. And that person is like the... who was that person to him? Was like the camera person or the filmmaker, the kind of the contact person he had was helping him along.
Was that Farzad? Or
yeah.
Teddy.
And that person also did not want to be there, eventually either, but also was torn on staying there as well. So that person he had a lot of tension for too. And in fact, unfortunately, after the fact, after this movie comes out, I worry about them. I worry for them too, because now they're going to be targets for all different reasons, because now they've basically not only shown this stuff in the documentary, they've tricked them in a sense, and that's going to be it's going to be possibly really dangerous for them in the future. I worry. One of the things I'm always struck with movies like this, anytime they go undercover or go become embedded in one of these groups, it could be the KKK or a neo-Nazi group and fascist group in Europe or wherever, is that you just kind of see the everyday life of these people, and they're just like friendly people. These Taliban guys seem like they're like kids, they're just living their life and all that, and you kind of can get lulled into it, and then something will happen, something will get mentioned, and you'll see the edge of that true color come out, and it's chilling. It's more chilling almost than someone just being evil, like to your face and aggressive and scary. When someone seems so like a neighbor, like a friend, and then you find out that they have such deeply held convictions that they will just be able to turn on a dime and it just seems natural to them. I think there's something really incredible about showing that to the world. Yeah. And this movie does that. This is a fantastic documentary.
Having people kind of basically having a laugh, hanging out, and then all of a sudden someone drops I think Osama bin Laden's a hero. Oh God, this is where we're at. I forgot we were.
Yeah, it's those kind of moments, or even moments like there's a quick little transition in here. This is not a spoiler, where they show just the posters and billboards on the walls of the city before the Taliban, and they show it after, and like all the pictures of the women, they can't be seen, so they're all like spray painted out and scratched out, so people can't see women's faces, in makeup and exposed. It's just little things like that are like, oh wow, yeah, it's real. This is real.
Actually, so I'm thinking of like American bigots specifically. Now I'm trying to wonder what they would think of something like this, because on one hand, they're going to hate it because Jordan's trans and they don't like that. And on the other hand, they hate terrorists. They say it's because they're terrorists, but it's because they're brown. Maybe they'd watch this documentary and it's like, I didn't like it. There wasn't any likable characters in it. Would it be like one of those things? Or
it might be.
Oh, wow.
Bigots, stay clear of this. You're not going to like any of it, but it's a fantastic documentary for sure.
All right. Fantastic documentary. Transition, the documentary. And then Eric actually interviewed Jordan Bryan, right? Jordan Bryan and the other director. I'm trying to get her name as well. I'll look that up in a second. But
Monica Villamizar.
So yes, thank you, Eric. Yeah. And Eric actually interviewed both of them, and really good interview. It's around 18 minutes in length. I will put that up.
That thing could have been an hour, easy. They have so much there's so much to talk about with this documentary, and they've done so much journalism beyond this documentary that it was a good conversation. Wish it would have went longer.
Yeah. So okay, it's a good conversation. I will be uploading it this week on our CinemAddicts YouTube channel. Also, I want to call my stupidity because Jonathan Quartus, he is the director of behind what movie, Eric Holmes?
My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To.
And stupid me, I've waited like 6 months to upload it. I'm sure I have it, Eric, on my files. If you are a fan of that movie, I think that was Eric's favorite movie of the year it was released. And I apologize to Eric Holmes and Jonathan Quartus. I will upload that interview, which was from the year maybe 2011. My fault. I will upload that early next week for our CinemAddicts YouTube members. Please, we are right now at 538. We are gaining in our. Ooh, I just see another spider on the wall. I was about to kill it. I can't reach a spider right now. It's sort of a big phobia with me. But anyways, please check out the Jonathan Quartus interview pretty soon in a couple of days. And then also check out Eric's interview with the Transition filmmakers as well. Most importantly, check out Transition. Support documentaries. It's getting great. Not Eric and Bruce are not the only people who love this documentary. Go on Rotten Tomatoes. It's getting high ratings. Okay. It's currently available for streaming. Just look it up. Hopefully it's on Amazon. Find a streaming service and catch Transition. Worth a couple of bucks, right, Eric? Worth a couple of bucks just to watch.
I think so, but the high reviews are kind of surprising because this seems like one of those, like what they did with Groupers, like before the movie came out, everyone was downvoting it. This seems like one of those documentaries that people would just go on and start downvoting it because bigoted reasons, as explained earlier.
Okay. Now,
But
ratings.
I'm happy to see it's getting high ratings. I'm just kind of surprised by that.
Yeah. Ratings. Bruce Purkey.
I'll probably go 4.5 only because I could have even watched I mean, is this me wishing for more again? I could have just seen this. I almost wanted to watch it go longer, like see both ends of it happening even more. But I mean, that's such a minor quibble. What is there is really good. So 4.5.
That's sort of a minor quibble, but also a compliment because you were so immersed in this whole thing, right? It's just one of those things.
Yeah, I mean,
you
you
just want more.
Make part 2, I guess. That's what you have to do at this point. Unfortunately, I don't want that person more danger, so I don't know what to say about that. But
True. What about you, Eric?
I would definitely love to see a follow-up to this. But as it is, I loved it. 5 stars.
5 stars from Eric Holmes. 4.5 stars from Bruce Purkey. For Transition, again, now available streaming in your whatever platforms you use. Check it out. Google it. Find it. All right. Hopefully, I'll find a link and we can put it on our show notes as well. Bruce and Greg's turn for this movie called Yes. Yes. Relax, Eric Holmes. Think you're the real dog man. Hang out with your dog for about a couple minutes. The Lie, the Murder of Grace Millane. Grace Millane, she is was a 21-year-old British backpacker. She was going on a solo holiday in New Zealand, I believe in the year 2018. The documentary explores the shocking case, the murder case. What happens, Grace Millane, what happens to her, and who is the culprit who killed her. Goes to the first half, you get to see the police interrogation. The second half, you see the court case of The Lie, the Murder of Grace Millane. The thing about this documentary is directed by Helena, I'm mispronouncing her name, Cohen, Coan, Cohen, I believe. It's not exploitative. It's just very cut and dry. And thanks to all these security cameras, a lot of the visuals are security cameras finding the footage of the killer and also Grace Millane. And the second half is the courtroom stuff. So a lot of it is footage from both of these sections, and there's nothing much else. And I think that's great because I like crime documentaries that just give the facts without all this just extraneous tabloidy stuff. And I think the lack of tabloidy stuff and more of just on the point investigation to the murder case as well as a trial of Grace Millane was very interesting for me. I can't say I enjoy this crime documentary, but it worked for me. What about you, Bruce? You were the first one to see it.
Yeah, I think it worked for me too, for some of the same reasons that you bring up. And I think Eric would really like this one. I don't know if he's a true crime guy, but I think he'd like this because I think it works. It's not all court case stuff, but I think in the way that it's just really discovering facts and uncovering. It's called The Lie, right? But it's really could be called The Lies. I mean, really, it could be. And I'll just to talk about it a little bit in the beginning, I'm not going to go through all of it, but you're essentially following all these, some social media, but all these CCTV footages. And it's, you know how you could do that in like England, and essentially it seems like you can do it in New Zealand too, where you can follow them from meeting at a open air market or whatever that is, walking down a street, walking down another street, going into a bar, coming out of the bar, walking to the bar. So essentially he can come in and tell his story to the police as a just very loose suspect, and then they can follow all these leads down all these rows and then find out where it diverts and then go back to him. And what do you mean? This happened instead. And it keeps diverting. And so if you don't know the story, which I did not, it works as a true life mystery, but also as an examination of how this particular person deceives and how seemingly he's so calm. His affect is so confidently calm, and he just always has another excuse for something.
The name is Jesse Kempson. That is document. So that's not quote. It's not a movie. This is like real life. So this is his name is Jesse Kempson. Sorry, Bruce.
And the other side of it is, and I don't know if you had this feeling too, because they follow it in such a step-by-step process, and in a weird way, even though you don't know the woman, you don't know Grace, you start to feel for her because you're seeing her acting in her normal everyday life, and you know that she's going to die. So that when you see some moments later on, I'm not going to say there's a moment in an elevator as you're seeing what's actually occurring later on, and you know what's happening in that elevator. I'm going to leave it kind of vague.
Yeah.
And to me, it really hit me in a way that it wouldn't have hit me if they just said like, oh, this is what's happening right now. But by leading us to that point,
it's not insulting us. It's actually giving us it's like we're sort of in that investigation without.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that. It was very, I think it was subtle.
You really felt the humanity of it, I think, in that way. And it was not one of these movies where, you know, these documentaries can tend to really like obsess over the lurid details, and you kind of get a lot about the killer. And sure, there's a lot about the killer in this, but you really get the sense of who this person was, and you really feel the loss of it and the loss from her family. And I think that's important. And were you struck by this? I'm sorry to say, you know, this is me being a America hater. The fact that New Zealand is apologizing to the world that this happened in their country. That would never happen. I mean, America would never do that. The fact that they're embarrassed that a person from another country came to visit their country and was murdered there is amazing.
And you mentioned lurid details, and I'm not going to knock true crime documentaries. My mother, she loves true crime. She's passionate about it, but there are different levels, and I think this is on just a really good level where it's doesn't need these flashy B-roll stuff filled with like all these chyrons of letterings or
reenactments or something.
Or the reenactments, or just, you know, they could have gone with the talking head stuff with just getting the entire Millane family just tons of sobs, you know, all that stuff. But it just tells us Grace Millane was missing for several days. This is Jesse Kempson. Look at the footage. Watch him continue the lie, and then go into the court case and see how that court case unfolds. And you as the listener...
And watch these lawyers, and watch Eric lose his mind when he sees these lawyers.
Right. It's also value added because there's a couple of stuff at the end we won't get to, but it really focuses on one of the things about how certain court cases, if violent sex is involved regarding these cases, some of these cases get overturned because sometimes they err on the side of the supposed guilty party because of when rough sex is involved in these situations. So that's another part of the documentary that they want to also spotlight. This is a value-added documentary, even if you are not a enthusiast of the true crime genre. For me, The Murder of Grace Millane is a solid 4 out of 5. It is in select theaters, Friday, March 29th. Bruce Purkey?
Same, 4 out of 5.
Yeah. But I was surprised. Bruce, we rarely cover crime documentaries. I'm surprised. This is a very tasteful and informative look. Yeah.
And it wasn't a 4-part miniseries.
And look, let's be honest. There are people who would want that. Okay, they would want that drawn out. Yeah. Okay.
So you were talking about like all the different like the cameras and stuff. Was it kind of like I can't remember the name, but you mentioned 4-part miniseries, which got me thinking of it. There was like 3-4 part series called like Kill the Cat or Don't Kill the Cat or something. Is it kind of like that where they have like a bunch of people online and showing like a bunch of security cam footage, stuff like that?
It's more straightforward than that. Yeah, because it's literally like the investigation. Like he comes in, he gets questioned. I'm very vague. He comes in, he gets questioned. He says some things. They say, "Well, here's some footage that doesn't match that," and then they show us the footage. And then they show us a bunch of other footage, and it's like then he has a story that changes it, and then they show some more footage. So you essentially are just unraveling with facts through footage all the things he's saying.
Yeah, I was going to watch this last night.
And really following him everywhere.
I was going to watch this last night, but I didn't have time. But you guys are selling me on this hard.
Yeah, if you ever have time, you could definitely do a rewind next week because it's one
like
of these
90 minutes, right?
It's like, for example, if like someone is reading you, let's just say someone's reading you a quote unquote sad, tragic story, and they're just reading it to you normally, as opposed to someone who's reading it to you with all this affectation and all this flavor. This documentary doesn't have that. It's more of it just presents it as is in a very subtle and tasteful and informative fashion. That's how I felt. I didn't feel like I was being exploited as a viewer, right?
But it unfurls it almost in a timeline fashion too. Yes. So you discover the facts in the same kind of timeline that the police or whoever viewed the footage would have discovered it. So you're not getting all the information up front and then you're repeating it. You're uncovering it. So it's letting that mystery aspect occur, I think.
All right.
You would love this, Eric Holmes. You would actually, yeah. Okay. So finally, features The Listener. Neither Bruce or Eric saw that. They've had busy weeks. They've been watching a lot of movies. They're going to talk about a movie that takes place in a roadhouse in a couple of moments. But I just want to mention
a masterpiece that takes place in a roadhouse. Okay, but go on.
Sorry for that correction. Okay, thank you for correcting me on that, Eric. Day and Date, March 29th, is a movie called The Listener. Wouldn't be me because I'm a podcaster. I barely listen to Bruce Purkey and Eric Holmes. I just say, I go, okay, Bruce, finish. Well, your turn, Eric. Okay. Oh, my turn. Yes, here we go. No, anyways, The Listener. It's directed by Steve Buscemi, starring Tessa Thompson. That's all you need to know. Tessa Thompson. She plays this woman named Beth. She listens. She's a helpline volunteer. She's at her domicile, and the entire 90 to 95 minutes has her listening to conversations, listening to people talking to her, seeking advice. These are different people. Logan Marshall Green from, what is that movie? Upgrade. He's in this movie. He's in this movie as one of the voices. There's Murgat Cho. There's Alia Shawkat. There is Rebecca Hall, has a big moment as one of the voices. And it's conversations for 90 to 95 minutes. Eric Holmes mentioned last week a couple of weeks ago about Spaceman. I can't believe I'm even mentioning this movie, but Spaceman starring Adam Sandler, how it's sort of an ASMR experience. This movie would be a total ASMR experience for Eric Holmes because The Listener has Tessa Thompson. She already has a beautiful voice, but she even makes it more beautiful and melodic by going like this. Tessa Thompson, hello, this is Beth. And the rest of the movie has her in that nice, calming voice as she listens to people trying to unfurl their emotions. And one of them is a former soldier, and this is voiced by Jamie Hector. That was very memorable. Rebecca Hall plays an academic who has her own solid and intellectual viewpoint on life, and she might want to have it. She has a different direction on where she wants to proceed. So there's so many interesting moments in The Listener. And it's one of those things is A, if you like podcasts, B, if you enjoy Tessa Thompson as an actress, this is a tour de force performance from her, but it's very subtle because it's her in her wireless headpiece here, what is it called? What are those like a headpiece or something, or earpiece. She has a wireless earpiece and she's just moving around the house, listening and talking and sharing her own lives in The Listener. It was surprisingly moving, this movie. I was quite amazed at how much I really enjoyed The Listener. And I thought it would have been a big waste of time. That's why I actually put it at number 4 on our features, but it ended up being actually quite value added and an emotional experience for me. This is actually a movie that I would probably watch again and again just because of the great conversations. I think, Bruce, a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned the movie My Dinner with Andre. It's like My Dinner with Andre. You want to go back to the conversations, you can. And for you, Eric, for the ASMR moments of The Listener, I think you might actually glom onto this as well. The Listener, day and date, March 29th, again, headlined by Tessa Thompson, directed by Steve Buscemi. 4 out of 5 stars for me for The Listener. Now let's get to our recommends. Roadhouse, we all know it's a remake of the Patrick Swayze iconic masterpiece of I call it masterpiece because Ben Gazzara is so memorable as the villain. We love him. We also love Sam Elliott in that movie. But Roadhouse, this is not Sam Elliott. This is not Swayze. This is not Gazzara. It has Jake Gyllenhaal. It has the Notorious One. Who is the Notorious One, Eric Holmes? The Notorious who?
Is that Conor McGregor? Or?
Yes, Conor McGregor.
Okay,
Conor McGregor.
I don't know his nicknames. I don't follow UFC.
Oh, okay, Conor McGregor, Jake Gyllenhaal. Who else is in this movie, Bruce? Do you remember who else is in this movie? Any big ones? Any big stars? I think it's just Conor and Jake.
But the woman was from, I think, the Suicide Squad. I forget her name, though. So
okay,
Post Malone. Post Malone is in it.
Oh yeah, Post Malone is in the opening scene.
Post Malone's in the opening scene. So
he was pre-Malone in the movie.
Right, very good, very good. Rim shot. We're not going to go over the plot here. You guys have Prime Video. Let's just get to reactions on this movie. Bruce, Roadhouse, work for you?
It didn't really move the needle much for me. I mean, I know I'm disappointing Eric.
Bruce.
You're not disappointing me, Bruce, because I kind of saw this coming. But
Eric, do we cut Bruce's audio right now? What do we do?
No.
Okay,
we give everyone equal time here.
The story of Jake Gyllenhaal. He wanders from town to town. You don't want to get him angry. And that is essentially my problem with this movie, is that he is a superhero. This is basically just a fighting version of MCU to me, where it's got, to me, the action scenes were very, I know, and I really want to hear Eric's because he thinks that these are groundbreaking fight scenes, and for me, they seemed very CGI enhanced. And I was reading about them, and I guess they took like 3 or 4 angles of the same fight, and then they melded them together somehow digitally. And I think I was sensing that, because you know how some of the CGI fights in like superhero movies, they're like, it swings around them and all that kind of stuff, like you see it in like Guardians of the Galaxy. This movie does a lot of that, and it felt kind of superhero fighty to me, especially because I knew that he would never get hurt really seriously. Like I said, I said this on a middle class film class. Evidently, Jake Gyllenhaal's character only can get stabbed in one spot in his body. There's a little spot in his lower left abdomen. That's where he gets stabbed. So just make sure you know that if you're going to fight him.
It's anyway, like the opposite of the Achilles heel. It's the iron.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop him. If you do that to him,
Bruce, that's a total spoiler. I always say Eric's spoiler. That's an MCU spoiler, man. That's like a Marvel Universe spoiler.
What, Jake Gyllenhaal gets stabbed?
Yeah, okay,
like 12 times.
Anyway, I mean, I wanted it to be, I don't know, I wanted it to be trashier. I wanted it to be campier. I wanted it to be something.
You didn't have fun. Scene. You had no fun. You didn't have fun, as much fun as you wanted to in this movie.
The most fun I had was predicting like what the exact final last shot would be. I said like, oh, when he walks into town, a girl says something to him like, oh, that's going to be the last thing we see in this movie. Yep, it's the last thing we see in the movie. And the fact that they had to have a character say like, hey, this is like a Western. And it's like, hey, audience, if you don't get it, this is like a Western. I would have a character tell you it's like a Western. It just didn't work for me.
Did it remind you of Shane, Bruce? Shane?
It didn't remind you of Roadhouse?
I mentioned Shane. Bruce refuses to answer me.
Roadhouse is on my box list. I've never seen Roadhouse. Never seen the original.
That's very
this is all making sense now.
Okay.
Because like a lot
I might like this worse if I watch original Roadhouse.
Possibly. Who knows? I you know what, Bruce? My call is you're going to appreciate the original over this one. Yeah. Eric, what are your thoughts? Oh.
So I've heard a bunch of people kind of echo Bruce's sentiments. And my question to them would be, have you seen the original Roadhouse? To which Bruce said no. And now it all makes sense. The original Roadhouse is dumb. The whole premise is stupid, and but it's entertaining. I love Patrick Swayze in it, Ben Gazzara, Jeff Healey's. He's the main band guy. Like, as stupid as Roadhouse is, it's still fun to watch, and it's like I think people kind of.
I interviewed Jeff Healey way back in the day. I just realized.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
the song he did, Angel Eyes, written by John Hyatt, by the way.
John Hyatt, another great musician. Love him.
Yeah. But so the original Roadhouse is stupid, corny. The whole premise is dumb. Hey, I'm gonna pay you to. Everyone's kicking everyone's butts in the Roadhouse or the Double Deuce, and so I need someone to come in. I'll pay you so you can beat them up. But like Patrick Swayze's got to be nice, a more even keeled way of going about it. And then they decided 35 years later, they decided they were going to remake it for reasons I couldn't quite understand at the time. And then I watched it and I'm like, oh, they knew exactly, they as you say, they understood the assignment. Oh, we're remaking Roadhouse. Cool. We're going to make it silly. The story is going to be stupid. Hey, I'm going to pay, what was it? I'm going to pay you $5,000 a week to come in and be a bouncer for a month. Like, the amount of money he's being paid, like the finances doesn't quite make sense with what they want to do.
Profits, yeah.
But one of the things I did appreciate was that they got, first of all, the Roadhouse is just called Roadhouse. They didn't use Double Deuce. There's not a lot of nostalgia bait or fan service in this. It's almost like they took watched Roadhouse and went, that's cool. Let's set it here instead and, do some. Kind of made it their own. I think I'm probably going to be on the side of Roadhouse that I am with the RoboCop remake, where people hate it. Whatever. I like what they did. They took a different, slightly different direction while still kind of maintaining a similar tone. The fight scenes, loved the fight scenes. And I get that, again, I hear of like the CGI stuff, RRR, cough. I don't understand why you would have a problem with Roadhouse, but not have a problem with RRR, because I think they're both equally ridiculous, but they're also equally amazing to me. Now, to Bruce's point about the fight scenes, like, I thought it was really cool how they put it together, just because, like, you watch how it plays out in the movie, and the camera's like always falling. Like, it feels like the camera and the stunt coordinators work together, as opposed to, we're going to have the stunt coordinators work over here, and then on the day we're going to start shooting, and everyone holding the shaky cam just has to keep up, and then it usually leads to pretty bad action. Not in Scott Adkins movies, by the way. And actually, I think Scott Adkins had problems with this movie, but I won't hold that against him. but I think just the way they shot the action in this movie, and like how the camera just kind of, just quickly, like, kind of zooms around trying to get the best shot in like every, and it does it fluidly, which is, I guess, is probably the CGI portion of that. I could see this being, when I say groundbreaking, I could see other movies copying this style, and I could also see it not working as well. Kind of like when they did with The Matrix. I think it's probably a similar concept of, Neo going back like that, and they have like 100 cameras around, so they're able to stitch all the camera moves together to make it appear that the camera is moving around when it's actually not. It's just a bunch of them. And then you watch The Matrix, and it's like, wow, that's so cool that they did that. And then they do it in other movies, and they don't have the same artistic flourish to it, so it doesn't work as well. But this was a movie I was kind of not really, I didn't really feel anything about it. I was like, well, they're remaking Roadhouse. The original is pretty stupid, so if this one's stupid, maybe it'll be fine. I was just absolutely blown away by this. And I think here's your hot take. You ready for this? I think this one's better than the original Roadhouse.
Wow, better than the original Roadhouse.
So there you go. Come at me, internet.
I don't know why. I haven't seen the Roadhouse original in a while. I have to rewatch it. All I'm going to say is, Eric, I thought this was going to be a mini review of Roadhouse. This was longer than our review of The Listener and The Lie combined. You are such a fan of Roadhouse. What is your rating on Roadhouse, Eric?
I think it comes as no surprise. This is a 6.9. This might be one of my favorite movies of the year. We'll see what happens.
That's amazing. Bruce, your rating on Roadhouse?
2.5.
2.5 stars. Eric, I want you to copy me exactly the way for this for the Ghostbusters review, so Bruce can go back to his loved ones in about 2 minutes. Okay, you're gonna copy my review, and you're gonna copy and paste and apply that to Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This is my review of Roadhouse. Really loved it. Loved the fights. Everyone was cool. A lot of good action sequence. Conor McGregor's amazing, and Bruce Purkey is absolutely bleeping wrong. 4.5 stars for Roadhouse. I love this movie.
4.5. I put 4.
Oh no, 4.5 stars. But
actually,
that's it. I'm finished. That's it. See, Eric, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Your thoughts?
Yeah, have you guys seen the cartoon Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters? This is an episode of that. It's pretty good. I liked it. It's probably 3 stars.
Better than the last one? Better than the last one?
I didn't see Afterlife. Okay. I saw the first 2. I saw the Ghostbusters with Kate McKinnon. Mm-hmm. That one was fine. Skipped Afterlife. Maybe I'll go back and watch it.
3 stars.
This one, yeah. This one's pretty good. I think the best part about it is the main monster bad guy. Okay. They could have done some really cool stuff that they didn't do, because they kind of threw out the idea that the place where they put the ghosts in is getting too full, and then a lot of the ghosts don't want to get caught. I was like, they should do something where they like address that. One of the characters makes friends with a ghost, and then they're trying to catch him, putting him in the containment unit. You're basically putting them in jail, and from what the movie describes is that they're crammed in there like that, so much so that the thing's busting open. That's neither here nor there. They didn't even address that, but yeah, if you like the real Ghostbusters cartoon, this is like a 2-hour episode of that, and pretty decent. Not gonna light the world on fire, but it's fun.
3 stars for Eric Holmes for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Next week, we have a Bruce Purkey What's in the Box pick. What's in the box for next week, Bruce Purkey?
Phantom of the Paradise.
Oh, Phantom of the Paradise. Who directed it again?
Some guy named
Sidney Lumet.
Rowdy Harrington.
Rowdy Harrington. Love that name. BD. We miss. Yes, BDP, Brian De Palma. Phantom of the Paradise, I believe. I don't know if Eric is going to do a rewatch. I'll definitely do a rewatch of Phantom of Paradise. I actually went over because one of the movies we missed before we go. One of the movies we missed this week is a movie starring Sean Penn and Ty Sheridan called Asphalt Jungle. It has a sort of like Bringing Out the Dead vibes for me for that Martin Scorsese film. I got a screener link. My question to you, Eric and Bruce, should I request screener links for you for Asphalt Jungle for next week, even though it comes out this Friday? Do you guys want to review that Ty Sheridan, Sean Penn film? For what, sure. Bruce, what say you? Oh, yeah? I don't know if they're going to say yes. I told them I'm going to cover it by Friday because I'm a movie hoarder, or maybe it rhymes with hoarder. So, but I wanted that movie and I wanted to see it. So Bruce, Eric, what say you? Asphalt City. See if you guys can get that as well. You want that screener link? Okay. Bruce is saying yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. Final thoughts, Eric Holmes.
Oh, I've been making some hot sauces. I was fermenting some jalapeno peppers for a month. We have a jalapeno blueberry, a bacon bourbon, and a green chili habanero. And I'm going to make a fourth hot sauce called The Curse. That one's going to be not good. But the other three, it's going to be like one of those melt your face off and put like way too much horseradish. And it's going to be an unpleasant experience. But the first three leading up to that are quite pleasant, and made a couple batches. And my sister kind of like handed out samples so people could taste them. And we sold all the bottles out almost immediately. So I think what we'll be doing pretty soon, I'll mention it here when we get to that point, but we'll probably take orders. And then so we got the full month to fulfill the orders and then do it again, supposing people like them. But the hot sauces are getting pretty good. Getting pretty good reaction out of them, and I can't wait for them to try. And I'll send some to you guys as well once we get.
No, make sure I want to know. I want to pay for one of them. So make sure I will be one of the people who's paying good money for your sauces. Don't send it to me for free. And you,
well, the idea is I send it to you guys, and then we try them on the show. I sent Pete one of the green ones because I had one of the green ones left over. He hit me up. So
I don't know, Eric, if we can do that because Bruce and our tasting fee. Bruce, did your tasting fee on the show for sauces go up? What is your tasting fee to actually be recorded? No, of course.
It's $69.69.
Mine is only $6.99.
My man.
Okay, no, Eric, please give us some more information if you guys, if you're interested to do a website on that or whatnot, because we want to actually plug your sauces. And you CinemAddicts listeners, you know the hottest person in this whole bunch is Eric Holmes, and you know he's making those sauces. So you got to try some of that Eric Holmes sauce, okay? Maybe he'll throw some CinemAddicts flavor as well.
Oh, I don't know if he wants to throw that. I'm not trying any of Eric Holmes sauce. I've just decided I'm not going to.
How dare you? I'm a good pitch man. I will try all of Eric's sauces.
I will say when we do like package, like once I make the curse, you can have the curse for posterity. Do not try it. It's not. It won't be.
Can
good.
I request that Emma Stone and Nathan Fielder be on the label of the curse?
Very, very, very good. Oh, before we go, Eric, the sauces go best with what? What kind of food? Chips?
The blueberry one actually works really good in a Bloody Mary. The bourbon one goes good on tacos because that one's really thick. Or like maybe like you could almost use it as a dipping sauce for like French fries. And the green one is, I mean, I do karaoke at this place called Toki. And I gave them a bottle, and they made me some eggs and put some of that green sauce on it. It was divine. I mean, the eggs would have been great by themselves, but with the green sauce on top, it was even better.
Okay, send me the bourbon. I'm all about the bourbon. Okay, so more sauce news to come, CinemAddicts folks. Okay, we're definitely Eric Holmes. I hate him for bearing the lead. He should have put that right in the intro. But more sauce.
But we'll bring it up again when we're ready to take orders on it and actually start doing more batches. But
I'm very, very excited. Remember,
it's looking good. The initial batches were quite good. If I do say
Eric Holmes, always remember, send me the stuff first before Bruce Purkey. Bourbon for me. Right, Bruce? First to Greg, right?
That's okay. I want the green anyway. So
okay. Final thoughts, Bruce Purkey.
Don't forget, 1986 is our next Patreon. If you have suggestions, send them our way. Any way that works best for you, we'll get it. And I will be telling you probably by next week what I am choosing, or at least I'll put a poll up in the next week so you guys can tell me maybe which one of the ones I'd like to do that we could use.
Okay, yeah, check out Bruce Purkey's choice for 2000. No, I was going to say 2006. This is 1986. I'm sorry. I'm getting old. I'm old. We're all old men. We've been podcasting for the last 2.5 hours with the Patreon and this. I'm going crazy in the head. So we'll see you here next week. Thank you guys so much for supporting us here on CinemAddicts, and of course, with hopefully some extra sauce. Here's Claire.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining CinemAddicts.